So, for my presentation, I decided to pick two songs that necessarily aren't my favorite or the ones that have this amazing memory or amazing story associated with them. I rather decided to choose two songs that I found very interesting and unique in the way that they used an instrument. In this case, specifically the piano. I feel that both artists use the piano in very different ways, and I also find the way that the piano in general is unique to other instruments and how it can create emotions, from being somber, joyful, dreary, almost like dreamlike, and also the piano creates an emotional connection of the composer and the piano, emotional connection also between the listener and the piano. I feel like this is different. The emotional connection that a piano makes with whoever compared to a trumpet is very different. It's like apples and oranges. You can't compare them. They're very different. And so the two pieces I chose were Beethoven's first movement, the Adagio Sostenuto, and his 14th piano sonata, and the song Rise Up by Andra Day. I think that both these pieces, Beethoven's being more classical of the two, creates an evolution. Beethoven's is the start of piano, how piano was used 200 years ago, and Andra Day is fast forward 200 years and see how the piano is used now. So the Moonlight Sonata is also a common name for it. Is classical view. It's the Rise Up is more modern, and it also the emotions that both these pieces bring up or create differ. So first up, we have German composer Ludwig van Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. It's considered to be one of the most famous pieces on the piano to be played, and it is also one of his well-known pieces out of his multitude of various different pieces of composing, pieces of work. And so, to start off, I just want to play the part that is the first part that catches your ear when listening to it. And secondly, it's also probably the part that most people know. Okay, so that's what instantly 15 seconds in. That's what catches your ear. You're like, wow, you hear the triplet, and then you hear this. You also, when listening to that, you get that dreary feeling, like I said before, like that slow moving, like flowing, kind of like drifting along dreary feeling. No pace, no rush, just moving along. And so I wanted to specifically highlight what I mentioned earlier, the triplet. So I did some research, and it comes to find out that Beethoven had two different pieces for this. His left hand was playing the do 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 do, while his right hand was playing that triplet 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Now that triplet also creates the meter. The meter is the beats per measure. So that 1 2 3 next measure, 1 2 3 next measure. That is the meter. That meter, that triplet, that 1 2 3 is also commonly found in the dance of waltz. So 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. That has that gliding feeling as well. That gliding, moving along, like free flowing feeling. So it makes sense that when listening to this, you get the similar motion. And so I also found it to be very interesting as the listener that, so you hear the triplet, right? But you also hear the differing notes. I found it very interesting that neither overpowers the other one. Both pitches, you can hear them, and you're not focused on one. It's just they coexist, they work together almost. And so those working together, those pitches getting long is known as consonants, and I'll play a piece where you really hear those two working together. don't clash. You don't hear like, oh, like they match. Like they fit well together. So as I said, as those are two different pieces playing, the piece itself is polyphonic. Polyphonic is when independent lines are playing simultaneously. They don't have to match, they don't have to mesh, but in this case they do. So that's what makes it polyphonic. The instruments that you hear in this are solely the piano. I find that very like solace in the piano. Just hearing the piano makes you focus primarily on it. Beethoven said, I could have thrown in an orchestra. I could have thrown in some even choral accompaniments are starting to become prevalent in this time. Pure here and there. But with the piano sonata, it was primarily just the piano, and it really just makes the listener just hone in on solely the piano, and I found that really interesting. And so with that, it also leads to the last topic I want to talk about, the sonata form. The sonata was very common in the mid-1700s, around 1750, and it also was which pushed into the 1800s. So a sonata consists of three parts. It consists of an exposition, a development, and a recap. Moonlight, the piece that we're discussing, is the exposition. Expositions tend to be harmonic and thematic, and you definitely hear that in this. Beethoven hit this perfectly. You hear this in this. You hear the thematic, the dramatic. Like you get that sense of like what's next. Just that calming, just the calm feeling that is enacted in this piece. And so exposition is the beginning. That's what you start off with, first thing you hear when you listen to it. It also repeats later in the recap. And so, like I said, this piece predates when Beethoven in his fifth symphony decided to entirely change the way that he writes. He's like, that's Theo's point. This is his boring stuff. This is his old stuff. This style fits perfectly for the time. It's exactly how it should have been played. And so I just feel that this piece, and specifically the first movement, is a great representation of how traditionally piano was used. And so for the next part, we're going to talk about a more modern twist on how the piano is used. So we are going to start with Andra Day's Rise Up. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is this song's made in 2015. More modern, about 200 years later than Beethoven, so obviously the way the piano is used is going to change. And the first thing I wanted to start off with was the melody. The melody that is just what's known, and if you know the song, this is the part that stands out. Okay, so that's the melody, and that's the part that's known. And so the melody stands out because it incorporates three things: that simplistic piano notes, the 1, 2, 3, 4, the powerful lyrics throughout the piece, not just in that, but the entire song, and the beautiful singing, just the elegant the way her voice just works. The song it works very well. And so, with all those things coming together, it just creates a really good blend and a chilling song in my book. It gives me chills. And so, once again, the piano, all of it, the whole accompaniment, not anything specific, the whole piano piece, and Andra Day singing, those, once again, they match. They don't clash, just like in Beethoven's. They match again. So consonance is on display once again in this piece. But to go moving past the melody, it also, in this song, the song form, the verse form, is A, A, B, A. And so that means that the A, the melody, repeats. You have a first verse, then you have a second verse, then you have a B that we're going to discuss in a little bit, and then you go back to the A. And so the B is that new style, and the B part has a similar, it doesn't go completely off the map, but it's different than what, it's the first time that you hear something different in the piece as like a major change rather than just simple notes. All we need is hope, and for that we have each other, and for that we have each other. So the thing that stands out to me is Andra Day goes with the words we. We is very common in that part. So imagine you're in the song the whole time. It's I will rise up. And then that time, it's like bringing together. It becomes powerful. It's like we will, together we will rise. And so that's the lyrical power of it. But also think of it as like a listener. Like say you're just like trudging along on a path, right? And you're just same thing. And you see the beautiful meadow pop out of nowhere. That's what the B represents. That B is something different. And it's very, very common in the R&B genre. The rhythm and blues genre it's that the repeat, new, and in this case, back to the old, is very common, and it's also generally paired with the piano. So Andra Day fits the R&B genre and represents it well with this song. And so as the singing and the piano work together, they are homophonic, and specifically listening to the piano, it creates the emotion. I feel like a piano like doesn't matter on the notes, but like just like with it being so simple, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, like it's not some like grand arrangement. Like it's a pretty bass 1, 2, 3, 4, like dun dun dun. Most like it just is easy to the ear to listen to. It's easy to catch on to, easy to remember. And it like with the powerful voice and lyrics, once again, like it just becomes powerful because like as the uplifting as like the piano represents the simple idea of rising, but like together with we, as she said, and her voice, like we can do it, which makes it this grand piece and this emotion that just without the piano it wouldn't be the same. Like the piano just helps create this grand feeling, and the piano adds elegance. So like think of it as, say you substitute the piano with heavy metal band, like the idea that the message would be completely different, and the emotions that you hear would be, or the emotions that you feel and create would be entirely different. So I really feel like the piano like was perfect for this, and the piano just makes it's unique. The piano is a very unique instrument, and the way it can be used and manipulated is I think has a wider variety than say a different instrument. And so last thing I want to talk about with this piece is that this was the modern use of the piano. Like I said, it's a simple rhythm. Like the rhythm, it's modern. It's about creating a way that the listener can remember it or hum along to it. It's easy to catch on to. Say Moonlight, that'd be a lot harder to catch on to. But Andra Day is like just the dun dun dun, the simple, you could catch on to it. So it's less complex compared to Beethoven. And the last thing I want to say is these are the two pieces I wanted to analyze. And the piano just catches my ear differently to other instruments. And that is basically why I decided to go with Beethoven's 14th Piano Sonata and Andra Day's Rise Up.